I feel like I got better things to do today than going on a rant. Who am I kidding? No, I don't. Let's go. Zayn Malik teases posthumous collaboration with Jimi Hendrix. This is the title of a recent Guitar World article. My first thought being, please don't let this be what I think it is. The article goes on. The former One Direction singer looks to have swapped Hendrix's vocals for his own in a new recording of the guitar legend's 1971 track Angel. A short clip of this recording was shared on both the Jimi Hendrix and Zayn Malik social medias, confirming, in fact, that Zayn Malik has recorded his own vocals over top of the original Jimi Hendrix backing track. Man, why do people do this? It is in such bad taste. And I'm not talking about covering a song. I love covers. Who doesn't love covers? If Zayn Malik was covering this, that's awesome. I'm all for it. He would be exposing a new audience to this beautiful piece of music. And I'm also not talking about sampling. That's taking a piece of music and cutting it up, transforming it into something new. Some people don't like sampling. I'm good with it. I'm talking about taking a deceased person's work and forcefully injecting yourself into it. And I'm trying to imagine what even Jimi Hendrix would have thought about this. The guy was notoriously self-conscious about his singing voice, but here comes this acclaimed, polished pop star singer who then takes his piece of music, deletes his vocal track, and sings over top of it. And I'm by no means a pop music or boy band hater. Like, I've come to terms with the fact that, hey, I grew up around NSYNC, I grew up with Backstreet Boys, pretended not to like them, but I actually did. As far as One Direction goes, not a huge fan, didn't have much of an opinion on Zayn Malik before today, but I do like Harry Styles. So this isn't coming from a pop music bad, I was born in the wrong generation type of thing. But Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player of all time. Nobody has had the same kind of influence or impact as that man to generations of guitarists. He's the guy sitting atop Mount Rock and Roll. For a former boy band member to re-record the vocal part and just the vocal part, to me just, it feels gross. And I only mention the boy band thing because it would be less awful, still awful, but less awful if it was someone who had spent their career appreciating and showing that they understand the music that Jimi Hendrix created. If, say, John Mayer was doing this, okay, maybe we'd be dealing with a teaspoon of salt instead of 4 cups worth. But I don't think John Mayer would do this because no self-respecting musician does. I don't love gatekeeping in most circumstances, but I don't believe that you can truly understand the impact and influence that Jimi Hendrix had unless you spend a significant amount of time playing the guitar, unless you lived through that time period, or unless you're a music historian of some sort. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that Zayn Malik's any of these. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Zayn Malik enjoys Hendrix enough, but is this really more than an attention-seeking effort from his party and a money-grabbing effort from the Hendrix estate? And I don't want to hear anything about Hendrix's family approving the Zayn Malik rendition. You know who runs the Experience Hendrix estate? Well, according to medium.com, when Al Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix's dad, died in 2002, he bequeathed the entire estate to his adopted stepdaughter, Janie, and left nothing for Hendrix's brother, Leon. And even if it isn't Jimi Hendrix's dad's adopted stepdaughter, who by all accounts met Jimmy twice for a couple minutes, even if it's not her making these decisions, nobody has the right to make this call besides the man himself. And again, I didn't know the guy, but I'm pretty sure music was so much more to Jimi Hendrix than this. There are some things that you just don't touch. You don't insert yourself over top of a recording that a dead person made. It's one of those cardinal sins. And I don't know why, but surprisingly, this kind of thing does happen fairly often. Alicia Keys did a live performance at an award show with like a hologram of Frank Sinatra or something like that. And I really didn't like it. And I'll be honest, like, I lost some respect for an artist who I have always had quite a bit of respect for. One of the most egregious examples of this is Randy Bachman from the Guess Who and BTO fame singing a f***ed up, cheesy song that he wrote over top of Lenny Bro's performance of Quiet Blue. I'm not exaggerating when I say I think this is the worst piece of music released in the history of all time. It's just an insult to a jazz guitar genius. Now granted, before he died, him and Randy were friends, and Randy does consider him his mentor, but my God, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship you had with Da Vinci, you don't paint a mustache on the Mona Lisa. And maybe my favorite thing to have ever come out of these kind of collabs is the absolutely legendary rant that Pat Metheny went on when Kenny G was doing this with Louis Armstrong. I got it right here. I just got to read this to you. When Kenny G decided that it was appropriate for him to defile the music of the man who is probably the greatest jazz musician that has ever lived by spewing his lame ass jive, pseudo bluesy, out of tune, noodling, whipped out, f***ed up playing all over one of the great Louis' tracks, even one of his lesser ones, he did something that I would not have imagined possible. He in one move, through his unbelievably pretentious and callous musical decision to embark on this most cynical of musical paths, all over the graves of all the musicians past and present who have risked their lives by going out there on the road for years and years developing their own music inspired by the standards of grace that Louis Armstrong brought to every single note he played over an amazing lifetime as a musician. By disrespecting Louis, his legacy, and by default everyone who has ever tried to do something positive with improvised music and what it can be, Kenny G has created a new low point in modern culture, something that we all should be totally embarrassed about and afraid of. I might not go quite that far with the Zayn Malik Hendrix thing, but this is a segment of a rather large essay that Pat wrote back in 2000, and he makes a point. I think there's only been one time where it's felt tasteful to do this kind of reanimating the dead kind of musical performance, and that was when Dweezil Zappa brought in a video of his dad for the Zappa Plays Zappa performances. Dweezil has committed the later part of his career to keeping Frank's music alive. He reinvented himself as a guitar player in the style of Frank. He hires musicians from Frank's old bands. He plays Frank's music. He played music with Frank a ton of times, and oh yeah, he's Frank Zappa's son, so extenuating circumstances here. So, song's not out yet. I think it comes out tomorrow or something like that, which would be 2 days shy of Jimi Hendrix's 80th birthday. But I'm not saving judgment here. You don't do this for a 15-second clip on social media. You don't do it for a full release. You just don't do this. That's all for today. Thanks for tuning into The Rant. Back to the regular schedule programming next time. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. Look after the planet. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.